Have you ever laid awake at night, blood boiling, because someone who lied and cheated just got the promotion you deserved? Have you watched corrupt politicians grow wealthy while honest families struggle to buy groceries? Here's what I need you to know right now. If you'll give me the next few minutes, I'm going to show you exactly why the wicked seem to win, and more importantly, reveal God's secret strategy that guarantees their defeat and your ultimate victory. By the end of this video, you'll possess 3 specific tools that will transform your anger into peace, your bitterness into blessing, and your confusion into rock-solid confidence that justice is coming. You see, this ancient song of Psalm 37, written by King David, isn't just poetry, it's a battle plan for the weary soul. David penned these words not from an ivory tower of ease, but from the trenches of real-life experience where he'd witnessed firsthand the apparent triumph of evil over good. What he discovered in those dark valleys is exactly what you need to hear today. God has a different scoreboard than the world does, and when you learn to read it correctly, everything changes. Picture this scene with me. David, the sweet psalmist of Israel, sits on a hillside overlooking Jerusalem, his weathered hands gripping a makeshift writing instrument. The morning sun casts long shadows across the Judean hills, but darker shadows cross his face as he contemplates the prosperity of those who mock God's ways. Do not fret because of those who are evil, or be envious of those who do wrong. He begins to write, and with those opening words, he addresses the very struggle that may have brought you to this video today. The Hebrew word translated fret literally means to grow hot, to kindle, to burn with anger. David understood that righteous indignation can quickly morph into destructive bitterness if we're not careful. He's not telling us to be passive or indifferent to evil. After all, this is the same man who confronted Goliath and called out King Saul's injustices. Rather, he's warning us about the corrosive effect of allowing the prosperity of the wicked to consume our thoughts and poison our spirits. When I think about the emotional weight of watching wickedness prosper, I'm reminded of my own grandfather's experience. He was a man of impeccable integrity who ran a small hardware store in rural Pennsylvania for 40 years. Down the street, his competitor regularly cheated customers, sold inferior products at inflated prices, and spread false rumors about my grandfather's business. Yet somehow the dishonest store always seemed busier. The owner drove fancier cars, and his family lived in the biggest house in town. I'll never forget visiting my grandfather one summer when I was 12 years old. I found him sitting in his modest living room, worn Bible open on his lap, tears streaming down his weathered cheeks. "Grandpa, what's wrong?" I asked, alarmed to see this pillar of strength so vulnerable. He looked up at me with eyes that held both sorrow and serenity and said, "Son, I'm just working through some things with the Lord about fairness and faith." That afternoon, he shared with me the words of Psalm 37, explaining how they had become his anchor during decades of watching dishonesty seemingly rewarded. "You see," he said, his voice growing stronger with each word, "God's economy operates on different principles than the world's. What looks like prosperity today might be poverty tomorrow, and what seems like loss right now could be eternal gain." His words didn't fully sink in until years later, when that competitor's business collapsed in scandal, while my grandfather's legacy of integrity continued to bless our community long after his death. David doesn't leave us wallowing in the problem. He immediately pivots to the solution. "Trust in the Lord and do good. Dwell in the land and enjoy safe pasture. Take delight in the Lord and He will give you the desires of your heart." Notice the active verbs here. Trust, do, dwell, take delight. This isn't passive resignation, but purposeful engagement with God's alternative program for living. The Hebrew word for trust carries the idea of throwing yourself upon something, fully committing your weight to it. It's the difference between intellectually acknowledging that a bridge will hold you and actually walking across it. David is calling us to transfer our confidence from our ability to control outcomes to God's sovereign wisdom and timing. This trust isn't blind, it's based on God's proven character throughout history and in our personal experience. But perhaps the most revolutionary instruction is to take delight in the Lord. The Hebrew word suggests finding exquisite pleasure, like a gourmet savoring a perfectly prepared meal. When our greatest joy comes from our relationship with God rather than our circumstances, we're freed from the tyranny of comparison. The prosperity of the wicked loses its power to disturb us when we're intoxicated with the presence of God. David continues with another powerful directive. Commit your way to the Lord, trust in Him, and He will do this. He will make your righteous reward shine like the dawn, your vindication like the noonday sun. The word commit literally means to roll something onto someone else, like transferring a heavy burden from your shoulders to theirs. It's the picture of complete transfer of responsibility. The promise that follows is breathtaking. God Himself will make our righteous reward shine like the dawn. Notice it doesn't say our reward will come immediately or in the form we expect. Dawn comes gradually, almost imperceptibly at first. You might sit in darkness for what feels like an eternity, seeing no change, wondering if morning will ever come. But God's timing is perfect. Just as surely as the earth's rotation brings the sunrise, God's faithfulness will bring vindication to His people. Let me share a story that illustrates this principle beautifully. In the 1950s, a young pastor named Richard Wurmbrand ministered in communist Romania. When the government demanded that church leaders pledge allegiance to the atheistic state, many compromised to protect their positions and possessions. Wurmbrand refused. As a result, he spent 14 years in prison, much of it in solitary confinement, subjected to torture that would make most of us question God's wisdom in choosing integrity over compromise. Meanwhile, the church leaders who compromise seemed to prosper. They kept their buildings, their salaries, their status in society. From a human perspective, Wurmbrand's choice looked foolish. But God's economy operates on a different timeline than ours. After his release, Wurmbrand's testimony sparked a global movement. His book, Tortured for Christ, awakened millions to the plight of persecuted Christians. Today, decades after his death, his influence continues to expand while the names of those who compromised are forgotten. This brings us to one of the most challenging commands in Psalm 37. Be still before the Lord and wait patiently for Him. In our instant gratification culture, few things are harder than stillness and patience. We want microwave solutions to our problems, not slow cooker transformations. The Hebrew word translated "be still" literally means to be silent, to be struck dumb. It's the quieting of not just our lips but our hearts, the cessation of our mental arguments with God about His timing and methods. I learned this lesson powerfully during a season of false accusation early in my ministry. A disgruntled church member spread vicious lies about me, and several families left our congregation believing the rumors. My instinct was to defend myself vigorously, but as I prayed, I sensed God calling me to be still, to wait patiently for Him to vindicate me. Those were some of the longest months of my life, but the vindication, when it came, was more complete than anything I could have orchestrated. David's next words probe even deeper. Do not fret when people succeed in their ways, when they carry out their wicked schemes. Here he acknowledges that the wicked don't just prosper accidentally, they often succeed precisely because of their wickedness. Their schemes work. Their manipulation pays off. This is perhaps the hardest pill to swallow. It's one thing to see good things happen to bad people randomly. It's another thing entirely to watch them succeed because of their badness. The answer requires us to zoom out from our temporal perspective. Yes, wicked schemes sometimes succeed in the short term. But what kind of success is it really? Is gaining the whole world worth forfeiting your soul? When we frame the question properly, The prosperity of the wicked starts to look less enviable and more pitiable. David then issues a series of rapid-fire commands: refrain from anger and turn from wrath. Do not fret. It leads only to evil. The progression here is instructive. Fretting leads to anger, anger intensifies into wrath, and wrath culminates in evil actions. What starts as understandable frustration over injustice can end with us becoming the very thing we despise. Now David pivots to eternal perspective. For those who are evil will be destroyed, but those who hope in the Lord will inherit the land. A little while, and the wicked will be no more. Though you look for them, they will not be found. But the meek will inherit the land and enjoy peace and prosperity. The contrast couldn't be starker. Destruction versus inheritance, non-existence versus peace and prosperity. The phrase "a little while" might seem laughable when you've been suffering for years. But from eternity's perspective, our entire lifespan is a little while. In light of eternity, the longest human prosperity is breathtakingly brief. The promise that the wicked will be no more is both sobering and comforting. Their influence, their mockery, their oppression, all of it will be swept away like dust before the wind. David continues with vivid imagery. The wicked draw the sword and bend the bow to bring down the poor and needy, to slay those whose ways are upright. But their swords will pierce their own hearts, and their bows will be broken. This is the principle of divine reversal. History is replete with examples. Haman built gallows for Mordecai, but ended up hanging on them himself. David then makes a statement that challenges our materialistic assumptions. Better the little that the righteous have than the wealth of many wicked, for the power of the wicked will be broken, but the Lord upholds the righteous. The answer lies in what accompanies each condition. The little that the righteous have comes with God's blessing, His presence, His peace. It's wealth that can be enjoyed without guilt, shared without fear, and lost without despair. The promise that the Lord upholds the righteous is precious. God doesn't just occasionally check in on the righteous, He continuously sustains them. When the wicked pull the rug out from under them, God becomes their foundation. This divine support system is worth more than all the wealth the wicked accumulate. David expands on God's care. The blameless spend their days under the Lord's care, and their inheritance will endure forever. In times of disaster they will not wither. In days of famine they will enjoy plenty. While the wicked might have human networks and financial safety nets, the righteous have something infinitely better: the personal care of the Creator of the universe. I witnessed this principle during the 2008 financial crisis. Two neighbors faced similar economic challenges: job losses, underwater mortgages, depleted savings. One, who had built his identity on financial success, fell apart completely. The other, a man of quiet faith, faced the same losses with remarkable grace. "God has been my provider for 60 years, he said. He won't stop now." Through unexpected provisions and the support of fellow believers, he navigated the crisis without withering. David shares a personal testimony. "I was young, and now I am old, yet I have never seen the righteous forsaken or their children begging bread." This isn't theoretical theology, but empirical evidence from a lifetime of watching God's faithfulness. He's not claiming the righteous never experience need. He's saying they're never forsaken, never abandoned by God, never left without hope or help. David then offers practical advice: turn from evil and do good, then you will dwell in the land forever. So much of life comes down to daily choices. Will we take the ethical shortcut or the righteous path? These might seem like small decisions, but they accumulate into a life trajectory. Every choice to turn from evil and do good is a vote for the kind of person we're becoming. David concludes with a triumphant declaration: "The salvation of the righteous comes from the Lord. He is their stronghold in time of trouble. The Lord helps them and delivers them. He delivers them from the wicked and saves them because they take refuge in Him." Every phrase breathes assurance and hope. Salvation comes from the Lord, not from our schemes or strategies. This liberates us from the pressure to secure our own vindication. He is our stronghold in time of trouble, a fortified place designed to withstand siege. The final phrase reveals the single condition: because they take refuge in Him. Taking refuge is an act of humility that acknowledges our inability to save ourselves. So where does this leave us today? First, take an honest inventory of your heart. Is your distress purely about injustice, or is envy mixed in? Second, make a conscious choice to stop fretting. When you catch yourself spiraling, redirect your mind to God's promises. Third, actively pursue the positive commands David gives. Trust, do good, delight in the Lord, commit your way to Him. Fourth, embrace God's timing. Remember that God's delays aren't denials. Your waiting isn't wasted. It's preparing you for the answer when it comes. Fifth, focus on leaving a godly legacy rather than achieving worldly success. Your integrity is inspiring others. Your faithfulness is teaching the next generation. Let me close with Corrie ten Boom's story. Her family chose righteousness over safety during World War II, hiding Jews in their home. They were arrested, their business destroyed, and her father and sister died in concentration camps. Meanwhile, Dutch collaborators grew wealthy from confiscated Jewish property. But Corrie survived to inspire millions with their story. Today, the Ten Boom name is honored worldwide, while the collaborators' names are forgotten or despised. This is Psalm 37's promise for you. Your choice to maintain integrity when compromise would be profitable matters eternally. The wicked might seem to be winning today, but their triumph is temporary. Meanwhile, your faithfulness is noted in heaven. Your patience is producing eternal glory. Here's what I want you to do right now. Your call to action. First, grab a piece of paper and write down the name of one person whose wicked prosperity has been eating at you. Under their name, write temporary in big letters. Then write your own name, and under it, write eternal inheritance. Put this somewhere you'll see it daily as a reminder of where true victory lies. Second, choose one verse from Psalm 37 that spoke most powerfully to you today. Write it on an index card and carry it with you this week. When fretting starts to rise, pull out that card and speak God's truth over your situation. Let His word be the anchor that keeps you steady when waves of injustice threaten to overwhelm you. Third, share this message with someone else who's struggling with the prosperity of the wicked. You'd be amazed how many believers secretly battle this issue but feel guilty admitting it. Your vulnerability in sharing this truth could be the lifeline someone desperately needs. Now let me speak this blessing over you. May the God of all justice open your eyes to see beyond today's inequities to tomorrow's vindication. May He fill your heart with such delight in His presence that the prosperity of the wicked loses all power to disturb your peace. May He strengthen your resolve to choose righteousness even when wickedness seems more profitable. May He surround you with evidence of His faithfulness that builds unshakable confidence in His promises. And may you live to see the day when every wrong is made right, every tear is wiped away, and every sacrifice for righteousness is rewarded beyond your wildest dreams. In the mighty name of Jesus, who suffered the ultimate injustice to secure our eternal justice, amen. Remember, friend, you're not alone in this struggle. God sees, knows, and will act. Your vindication is already scheduled on heaven's calendar. Until that day, keep trusting, keep choosing righteousness, keep delighting in the Lord. The prosperity of the wicked is a fading flower, but your inheritance in God is an eternal treasure. Hold fast to that promise and let it be the anchor that holds you steady through every storm.